Hello, and welcome to another ANSYS Workbench tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to be covering mesh convergence, remote points, and then how to compute rotations using ANSYS APDL commands. ANSYS APDL is the main ANSYS program that is used to model complex systems. ANSYS Workbench was developed after APDL to help with the user interface. So it often becomes the need to type in APDL commands in ANSYS Workbench so that more complex problems can be solved. And we will go through that process in this tutorial. In this lab, the geometry consists of a cantilever beam that is 150 millimeters long. It has a 4 millimeter radius, fillet radius, where it is affixed to the wall, and the other dimensions as shown here. We will now go ahead and develop and build this geometry in ANSYS Workbench. So we will minimize this window, and after opening ANSYS Workbench, this is the window that we will see. We will come and click on Static Structural, and while holding down the left mouse button, we'll drag it to the project schematic window and let it go. Then I will double click on Geometry, and down here I get the red light and the text saying Starting Space Claim, meaning ANSYS is busy starting the Space Claim package where we will build the geometry. Once the Space Claim has opened, I like to right-click on the geometry and then left-click Select New Sketch Plane and hover over the XY plane so that I am drawing in the XY plane. In this particular tutorial, the units that were given were in millimeters, and those are the default units in ANSYS Space Claim. If we wanted to change those, we would come here to File, Space Claim Options, and then go to Units, and we could change those to different units if we needed to. So I'm going to go ahead now and begin to build. So to begin the sketch, I make sure that I'm in the sketch mode by clicking on this icon up here if it is not already selected. Then I can come over and click on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to define this rectangle from the center. So I'll click on Define Rectangle from Center in the Options drop down. Then I come over and left click on the center, and I drag my cursor out while holding it down, and I can type in 20, then the tab key, and then 20, enter, and I now have my 20 millimeter by 20 millimeter cross section. I can come up to the Pool tool, click on Pool, then I can come down and click on the yellow arrow here with my left mouse button and pull my geometry 150 millimeters, so I'll type in 150, enter. I now have my beam. I can now use my middle mouse button to rotate this around, and I will now come back to sketch mode. Then I'll click on my rectangle tool again and define rectangle from center again. Then I come over, and while holding down my middle mouse button, you can see that I have these grid lines by my cursor, so I have to select the right grid plane, which is this plane, so I'll click it first. Then I can come and click the center tool and drag my rectangle, and this will be a 40 tab 40 enter rectangle. Now I'm able to come back to my pool tool and grab on my pool tool, and I can grab this arrow and I can pull it out 10 millimeters. So I'll pull it and type 10, enter. Then I can grab on this plane and I can grab it and pull it 10 and enter that as well. And I now have my geometry. I can come up here and click on this drop down and say plot the isometric view. Now I'm ready to compute the fillet radius. And to do that, again, I use the Pool tool, so I'll click on Pool. Then I come to this line, and I make sure I click on the line, and I simply pull this out, and I type in 4, enter, and that gives me my 4 mm radius. I then come to this line, pull on it, type 4, enter. Now I can use my middle mouse button and rotate this around. Click on this line, drag it, type 4, enter, and now rotate it with my middle mouse button. Click on this line, pull it, and type 4, enter. Now I can come back to this drop down on the orient and click on isometric, and I now have my geometry built in SpaceClaim, and I'm ready to import this into ANSYS Mechanical and continue on